An auditor enters a data center for a routine review. All operational indicators appear normal. Servers are functioning, badge access is recorded, and support tickets are resolved promptly. However, when the auditor inquires, "Who approved this change to the production database last Tuesday?" there is no response. There is no ticket, no sign-off, and no log entry linking the change to an individual. This single oversight, a missing control, can distinguish between a clean audit opinion and a significant finding presented to the audit committee. Welcome back to BPOT HQ. This section addresses CISA Domain 1, Planning, which evaluates whether candidates approach problems with an auditor's mindset rather than relying solely on procedural checklists. This comprehensive overview will cover all 4 planning subtopics: standards and ethics, audit types, risk-based planning, and control types. 18% of the 150 exam questions are derived directly from Domain 1. This domain cannot be effectively prepared for through last-minute study, as it is conceptual rather than factual. It assesses judgment rather than rote memorization. Domain 1 is divided into 2 sections. 1A, Planning, which includes standards, audit types, risk-based planning, and control types. And 1B, Execution, which covers audit project management, testing, evidence, reporting, and quality assurance. The current session focuses on 1A, while 1B will be addressed in the subsequent session. Planning is critical because it is the stage where the auditor's judgment is established prior to conducting any tests. Misunderstanding role distinctions among the auditor, management, and IT operations at this stage can lead to compounded errors throughout subsequent domains. Prior to conducting any audit, auditors must understand the governing frameworks. ISACA provides 3 tiers of guidance, and the CISA examination frequently assesses knowledge of their distinctions. IS audit and assurance standards are mandatory. The operative term is shall. For example, if a standard states that the auditor shall maintain independence, compliance is required. Violations constitute professional conduct issues. IS audit and assurance guidelines are not mandatory, but are strongly recommended. The operative term is should. Guidelines provide practical methods for applying standards. Deviations from guidelines must be justified and appropriately documented. IS audit and assurance tools and techniques represent the lowest tier. These include templates, white papers, checklists, and sample work programs. They are optional resources rather than mandatory obligations. The CISA examination assesses whether candidates understand that deviation from a standard constitutes a violation, whereas deviation from a guideline is permissible if justified and documented. ISACA consolidates its guidance within a framework known as ITAF, the IT Audit Framework. ITAF categorizes the standards into 3 distinct families. General standards establish foundational requirements for auditors, including independence, objectivity, competence, and due professional care. Performance standards address the execution of audit engagements, encompassing planning, evidence collection, supervision, and materiality. Reporting standards pertain to the communication of audit findings, including report content, timeliness, and distribution. It is essential to remember the 3 categories: general, performance, and reporting, since the CISA examination may present a standard's content and require identification of its corresponding family. At this point, the CISA exam introduces a philosophical distinction. Independence comprises 2 distinct concepts, and the exam often attempts to conflate them. Organizational independence refers to the placement of the audit function within the organizational structure. Internal audit should report functionally to the audit committee or board and administratively to a sufficiently senior level to prevent undue influence from any single business unit. If IT audit reports directly to the Chief Information Officer, CIO, this is a significant concern, as the CIO is frequently the subject of the audit. Individual or professional independence concerns the auditor assigned to a particular engagement. For example, if the auditor previously developed the code under review, owns stock in the vendor being assessed, or is auditing a system managed by their spouse, these situations represent individual independence and objectivity issues. Such problems may arise even when the audit function appears independent at the organizational level. The CISA exam assesses this distinction by presenting scenarios in which an auditor is organizationally independent but has recently served as an interim manager in the department being audited. In such cases, the correct response identifies an impairment of individual independence rather than organizational independence. These two axes are distinct and can fail independently.
The Audit Charter is a formal document that authorizes the existence of the audit function. It is typically approved by the Audit Committee or senior management and defines 4 key elements: purpose, authority, responsibility, and scope. In the absence of a charter, the internal audit function lacks a formal mandate to operate. It is important to note that the charter is approved at the governance level, rather than being drafted unilaterally by the audit team. This approval grants the audit function authority to access records, systems, and personnel. Each CISA holder is bound by 7 obligations outlined in the Code of Professional Ethics. These can be summarized as follows. CISA holders are expected to support the implementation of appropriate governance and control standards. They must perform their duties with objectivity, due diligence, and professional care. Serving stakeholders lawfully and maintaining high standards of conduct is required. Confidentiality of obtained information must be protected unless legal disclosure is mandated, and such information must never be used for personal gain. CISA holders should maintain professional competence and accept only assignments they are qualified to deliver. Transparent reporting is essential, including the disclosure of all significant facts. Additionally, they are responsible for supporting the ongoing education of stakeholders in governance, control, and security. It is important to note that confidentiality is not absolute. When disclosure is legally mandated, such as by a court order or regulatory requirement, the ethical obligation changes. In examination scenarios, the correct response is that legal disclosure requirements take precedence over confidentiality obligations. A brief review of common pitfalls is necessary before proceeding, as Section 1A1 contains complex material. Trap 1. The auditor deviated from a guideline. This is not automatically a violation. It is defensible if the deviation is justified and documented. However, deviating from a standard constitutes a violation. Trap 2. The auditor is organizationally independent, but recently managed the audited team. This situation represents an individual independence impairment, which is distinct from organizational independence. Trap 3. Confidentiality versus a legal disclosure requirement. Legal and regulatory disclosure requirements take precedence over the confidentiality obligation outlined in the code. Mastery of these 3 scenarios indicates a strong understanding of Section 1A1. The discussion will now proceed to audit types. Audit engagements vary in nature, and the Certified Information Systems Auditor (CISA) framework requires accurate classification of each type. Financial audits assess the accuracy of financial statements and the reliability of financial reporting controls, such as those performed by external auditors, or in accordance with Sarbanes-Oxley (SOX) requirements for internal control over financial reporting (ICFR). Operational audits evaluate the efficiency and effectiveness of business operations, regardless of financial statement accuracy. Integrated audits combine financial, operational, and IT audit objectives into a single engagement, increasingly common because financial controls and IT general controls are so intertwined. Compliance audits assess adherence to laws, regulations, organizational policies, or contractual obligations, such as the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS, General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, or internal policy requirements. Administrative audits examine the operational efficiency of a specific function with a primary. Assessments and reviews are less formal than a full audit,
And the CISA examination emphasizes the importance of distinguishing between these roles. Control self-assessment, CSA, involves management and staff evaluating their own controls, while the auditor serves as a facilitator rather than conducting the testing. A common exam pitfall is misunderstanding that in a CSA, the auditor guides the process but does not draw the final conclusions. A vulnerability assessment identifies and ranks technical weaknesses without attempting to exploit them. A penetration test actively attempts to exploit identified weaknesses in order to demonstrate their potential real-world impact. A gap analysis compares the current state to a target framework or standard to identify deficiencies. SOC 1 reports provide third-party attestation regarding a service organization's controls relevant to financial reporting. SOC 2 reports offer attestation on security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy, collectively known as the Trust Services Criteria.
3 key pitfalls to recognize are outlined below. Auditor leads the discussion while staff identify their own weaknesses, describes a control self-assessment. The auditor's appropriate role is facilitator. If an answer choice indicates the auditor is personally testing and concluding, it does not represent a control self-assessment. Vulnerability assessment versus penetration test. A vulnerability assessment identifies and ranks weaknesses, whereas a penetration test actively exploits these weaknesses to demonstrate real-world impact. These terms should not be interchanged. Which report is relied upon for a vendor's financial reporting controls? The SOC 1 report is appropriate due to its focus on financial reporting. SOC 2 addresses security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy.
The conceptual core of Domain 1 is risk-based audit planning. The process begins with the audit universe, which is the complete inventory of all auditable entities within the organization, including systems, processes, business units, and third parties. Risk ranking is only possible after a comprehensive inventory has been established. Audit planning occurs at 3 distinct levels. The strategic plan spans multiple years and aligns with both organizational strategy and the overall risk landscape. The tactical, or annual plan, outlines the schedule of engagements for the year, prioritizing the audit universe based on risk. The engagement level plan provides detailed guidance for a specific audit, including objectives, scope, timeline, and required resources. ISACA emphasizes proficiency in 4 primary risk types. Inherent risk refers to the level of risk present before any controls are implemented. For example, a wire transfer process carries high inherent risk due to the nature of transferring funds. Control risk is the possibility that existing controls will fail to prevent or detect a material error or weakness. Detection risk is the likelihood that the auditor's procedures will not identify an existing material issue. Audit risk represents the overall risk that the auditor may issue an inappropriate conclusion. Conceptually, audit risk is determined by the combination of inherent risk, control risk, and detection risk. In scenario-based questions, if both inherent risk and control risk are high, the auditor must reduce detection risk by performing more rigorous testing. This approach ensures that overall audit risk remains at an acceptable level.
The risk-based planning process involves several sequential steps: understanding the business and its objectives, identifying and inventorying IT-related risk factors across the audit universe, evaluating and ranking those risks, and allocating audit resources to the areas of highest risk. Materiality underpins the entire process. It represents the threshold at which an omission or error would influence the judgment of stakeholders relying on audit results. In information systems, IS audit, materiality is not limited to monetary values. A control weakness may be considered qualitatively material if it affects data integrity or availability on a large scale, even without a direct financial impact. The Certified Information Systems Auditor, CISA, examination
emphasizes risk-based planning because its primary purpose is to direct resources toward the highest risk areas. While cost efficiency may result from this approach, it is not the principal objective. Inherent risk and control risk are both high. What action should the auditor take? The auditor should increase the extent of substantive testing to reduce detection risk, rather than omitting testing or relying solely on management's assurance. The primary purpose of risk-based audit planning is to reduce audit costs. This statement is incorrect. The primary purpose is to allocate limited resources to areas presenting the greatest risk. Who determines how the organization responds to identified risk? Management is responsible for the risk response, which may include accepting, mitigating, transferring, or avoiding risk. The auditor's role is to identify, assess, and report on risks. If an answer option assigns the risk response decision to the auditor, it incorrectly attributes a management responsibility to the audit function. The final major concept block frequently appears in scenario-based questions on the CISA exam, which often require candidates to classify a control based on a given scenario. Preventative controls are designed to stop undesirable events before they occur. Examples include segregation of duties, input validation, and access provisioning approval. Detective controls identify events after they have occurred. Examples include log review, reconciliation, and intrusion detection system, IDS alerts. Corrective controls address and remediate the impact of an event after it has been detected. Examples include restoring from backup and patching vulnerabilities once identified. Deterrent controls discourage violations without physically preventing them. Examples include visible cameras, warning banners, and disciplinary policies. Compensating controls are alternative measures that reduce risk when the primary control cannot be implemented as intended. For example, if segregation of duties is not feasible in a small team, a compensating control could involve mandatory supervisory review of every transaction initiated and processed by the same individual. Compensating controls are frequently misidentified on the CISA exam. The primary indicator of a compensating control is its implementation due to the absence or impracticality of the ideal control, rather than its technical classification as a preventive measure.
Controls can be categorized by their nature as managerial or administrative, such as policies, procedures, and organizational structure, technical or logical, including access controls, encryption, and firewalls, or physical, such as badges, locks, and environmental controls. Controls can also be classified by scope. General controls, or IT general controls, ITGCs, apply broadly across the IT environment and include access management, change management, IT operations, backup and recovery, and physical security over the data center. In contrast, application controls are specific to a single application or business process and are divided into input controls, processing controls, output controls, and boundary controls. Boundary controls refer to identification and authentication at the edge of the application, such as login procedures.
Another important distinction for auditors is the difference between a control objective and a control activity. The control objective refers to the intended goal, such as ensure only authorized users can access the payroll system. The control activity is the specific mechanism implemented to achieve this goal. For example, unique user IDs, role-based access, or quarterly access recertification. A critical relationship emphasized in CISA examinations is that if information technology general controls, ITGCs, are weak, such as when change management processes are ineffective, reliance on application controls is not advisable. This is because there is insufficient assurance that the application logic has not been improperly altered. Weak general controls compromise the reliability of application-level controls, even if those controls appear adequate in documentation. When evaluating the adequacy of a control, the assessment should focus on whether the control activity effectively achieves the stated objective, rather than merely confirming the existence of the activity.
A workaround reduces risk to an acceptable level because the ideal control is missing.
This situation exemplifies a compensating control. Although it may prevent certain adverse outcomes, its presence indicates that the primary control is either absent or impractical. General controls are weak, but this one application control appears effective. However, reliance on this control is not advisable, as weak IT general controls, ITGCs, undermine confidence in all dependent application controls. The mere documentation and existence of a control does not ensure its adequacy. Adequacy requires that the control effectively achieves its stated objective, rather than simply existing on paper. All 4 subtopics can be applied simultaneously, using phrasing consistent with the Certified Information Systems Auditor (CISA) examination format. During the planning phase, an information systems (IS) auditor discovers that the organization's change management process does not include documented approval for emergency changes, although all other change types are properly approved and logged. Which of the following actions should the auditor take next? Candidates should note that selecting immediately report this to the audit committee is premature, as the scope and impact have not yet been fully assessed. Similarly, recommending the implementation of a formal emergency change process constitutes a conclusion and is not appropriate during the planning phase. Furthermore, it is not the auditor's responsibility to design corrective actions. The appropriate action during planning is to incorporate this risk into the audit scope and risk assessment, evaluate the significance of the exposure, and adjust the engagement plan to specifically test emergency changes. The planning phase is focused on identifying and scoping risks for the audit, rather than proceeding directly to reporting or remediation. The following key points are designed for memorization through repetition. Standards are mandatory and indicated by the term shall. Guidelines are recommended and denoted by should. Tools and techniques are considered optional resources. The ITAF framework consists of 3 families: general, performance, and reporting. Independence is assessed along 2 axes: organizational and individual. Each axis can fail independently. The Code of Professional Ethics requires supporting standards, acting with objectivity and due care, serving stakeholders lawfully, protecting confidentiality, maintaining competence, reporting transparently, and supporting education. Types of audits include financial, operational, integrated, compliance, administrative, information systems or technology, and forensic audits. During a control self-assessment, the auditor acts as a facilitator and does not assume ownership of the conclusion. Audit planning occurs at 3 tiers: strategic, tactical, and engagement level, all of which are derived from the audit universe. The 4 types of risk are inherent, control, detection, and audit risk. Audit risk represents the composite risk that must be managed. The purpose of risk-based planning is to allocate resources to the highest risk areas, rather than to reduce costs. There are 5 types of control timing: preventive, detective, corrective, deterrent, and compensating. Controls can be categorized by nature as managerial, technical, or physical. By scope, controls are classified as general, including IT general controls, or application controls, which address input, processing, output, and boundary functions. Weak general controls consistently undermine the reliability of application controls. Domain 1, planning, serves as the foundation upon which all other areas of the CISA exam are built. Skipping this section due to its perceived lack of technical rigor compared to domains such as security or operations may result in unnecessary point loss. CISA scenario questions frequently assess whether candidates understand the distinction between the auditor's responsibilities and those of other stakeholders. Please share in the comments which exam trap has been most challenging for you. Subscribe if you found this information helpful. The next section will address Domain 1B, execution, which covers the transition from planning to fieldwork, including audit project management, testing and sampling, evidence collection, data analytics, reporting, and quality assurance.